Don Lemon was charging into a church and might be charged with all kinds of bad things by the DOJ, but he's actually part of the media, and the media now seems to be entrenched in trying to wage trench warfare, at least in the digital age where they want hyper-trending videos and perhaps hyper-partisan chaos in the streets of Minnesota and beyond, because it's good for eyeballs, viewership, and maybe the midterms for them. Today, we'll break down what's breaking down and why the media might have gone too far, especially on CNN. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel. We have a special guest with us today, Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen. We are going to talk about what's happening with the media, going past that line of being observers, reporters, etc., and now actively perhaps engaging in conflict and kinetic chaos in the streets of America. What does it mean? Why is there not the response you might expect out of the Trump administration? We'll weigh it all. You click the like button, and here we go. Ron, I want to show you this video. It's out of freedomnews.tv, and it's from Le Target. It's a sit-in, and of course, we've watched Don Lemon and what he does to churches, but this is what they do to retail, which is less scary, I would say, which really says something about their priorities. This is what's going on in Minnesota. I want to pick your brain on how Americans are responding, in particular to the cable news channels, because I'm interested in the ratings and what it is exactly the cable news channels are up to. Here is Le Target. I'm sure this will be all over CNN, msnow, etc. This is, again, out of Minnesota, ladies and gentlemen.
We are one. We won't stop fighting. We won't stop fighting. Till ice is gone. Till ice is gone.
Target says that their mission is to support the joy of everyday life for all families. Then do it.
And they're angry that people who are federal agents are allowed to buy things at Target. Mark, we've also seen Don Lemon go in and invade a church. We saw kids crying, all that kind of thing. This all seems to have been brought out because Nick Shirley, independent journalist, goes in with a camera and just walks up to businesses and says, hey, is a business here? And they scream at him and yell at him, etc. Daycares, living centers, etc. We had the situation where Tim Walz, it looks like they've actually increased the GDP of Somalia based on the level of fraud and the taxes that are going out. And this is what we're doing instead. Mark, this is always, I believe, part of a plan. So when it comes to the cable news channels and the Democratic operatives that are behind some of this, what are your thoughts? How is this playing with Americans? Do Americans will they put up with another summer of love that seems to be fomented right now in Minnesota? Or, is it popular, unpopular? What are people saying?
Yeah, so this is the problem, is that you can find contradictory numbers. And so I have to stitch together what I think is the right narrative just based on my gut, having done this a long time. And first, can I tell you, that felt like watching an Acolyte episode. I mean, that was
yes.
And I was having fun with the whole Don Lemon thing, is that I said it's a good thing he didn't raid a Methodist church because they'd probably ask him to give a sermon.
That's exactly right. Yes.
But it's weird that these people are like, hey, the church has to stay out of politics. But the second they want to protest something political, they raid a church. It's kind of weird. But so when you
never a mosque, Mark, never a mosque.
No, definitely not. If you watch Inside Out, Pixar, whole idea of core memories, right? And I think the core memories, like this idea of like an ideological core of Americans, is fairness. And when Trump got elected back a year ago, we asked the question, how important is it to remove criminal illegal aliens out of the country? It was like over an 80% position. It was a 90% position with Republicans. Those are kind of as high as numbers get. So people were really ready to do this. And not only that, we even asked, do you support Trump's policy of mass deportations, and used Trump in the question, and we still got a number in the 60s. So people wanted everybody out. Now, in the recent polling, when we asked, do you support ICE or ICE protesters, ICE only wins by a few points. Donald Trump is down under 40% combined excellent or good on the issue of illegal immigration. A plurality of people say that ICE has been too harsh versus not harsh enough. Very few people think harsh enough. And so what's weird is that this whole thing started because of Nick Shirley, because of Minnesota. This is something Doge should have figured out. And then Doge was the most popular thing Republicans ever did. They got rid of it. That tanked Trump's approval rating as well. It, in my opinion, was when the wheels really started to fall off, is after when Doge was basically sidelined. And then here, all of a sudden, when people are not confident in the Republican ability to govern, you have fraud dumped in the Republican lap again in such an egregious way. Like, we have federal agencies, the IRS, DHS, like, everybody should be investigating and uncovering this fraud. And we could probably fix our own deficit issues if we just crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse. And Americans are really mad about waste, fraud, and abuse now. It's like almost, I think it was 76% last time we measured. So this was a huge opportunity to say, you know what, our legislative agenda for 26 is going to be crap anyways. Let's just raid every blue city and hold everybody accountable. And what are we talking about now? We're talking about ICE protests. So somehow a really great opportunity to redefine the 26 midterm cycle, where the Democrats are winning right now, has completely been lost to the optics of these ICE protests. And America does not like this stuff. Republicans are increasingly going to lose on it. And so, in my opinion, Trump's optics are, you got to shift this back to fraud. And there's a couple ways you could do it. You could do Insurrection Act. I think America would be there for it because they supported the National Guard in the cities. You could, what I think they should do is raid the businesses, because Americans trust businesses even less than the federal government. And so if that's the way you want to crack down on illegal immigration, but the idea of like masked men pepper spraying Americans in the face, even if it is Triggly Puffs and liberal Karens that nobody likes, the optics are not good. It's going to be a loser for Trump, and he's got to shift it. And this is going to be just the gift that keeps on giving. They're going to have these ICE protests. America's just going to be upset that we're falling into insurrection. Trump's politically edging people by tweeting about the Insurrection Act. Like, we're not in a good situation. He has to do something drastic, and people want him to do things.
Why, Mark, is there such a hesitancy? Because, and from the rating side of this, the cable channels, I don't know if they want that or not. I presume that they do because of ratings. But from the White House's perspective, why are they so, I don't want to say abrasive, why are they so sure of themselves internationally when they're doing geopolitical maneuvers, whether it's, what they're doing in other countries kinetically, or whether it's their positioning on Greenland? And then when we look internally at the domestic situation, they're so afraid. Why is the DOJ not arresting Don Lemon today? I'm not suggesting they should or should not, but they talk about it. And all they ever do is talk about it. And I don't know how that does them any good to just talk about these things.
Yeah. Well, the asymmetry, because recall that the federal government rounded up over 125 J6 protesters before Biden was even sworn into office. And so there is a complete asymmetry in what the system holds people accountable for. So you say, oh, look at what Joe Biden did. He weaponized the system against J6. No, the system was already weaponized against J6 before Biden even got in there. And I hate to be cynical, but I really do think that it's fair to look at D.C. and say that it's occupied territory. Look at how many Republicans voted to maintain funding to the National Endowment of Democracy. I think that's a really great example. And so there's a lot of things I think that will uncover, but like, Trump is surrounded in my opinion, by people who are telling him things because they want to maintain the status quo, whether it's wealthy businessmen, whether it's people who have foreign countries' interests ahead of the American people. Like, he's not really getting the advice that, no, Trump, a lot of people wanted you to act like Napoleon and agreed with the statement that he who saves his country violates no laws. They want the arrests. We haven't had any arrests. So, of course, add Don Lemon to the list of people that Pam Bondi is investigating. And she should have been fired. And unfortunately, what I'm hearing from rumors is that some of the people in Donald Trump's administration are corrupt. I think that there is a bigger aspect of deep state influence on the Republican Party than we all believe. And there's even some really wild things being alleged on the internet. So Donald Trump just recently has retweeted Patrick Byrne about some of the election integrity stuff. And Patrick Byrne just alleged a week or two ago that Rick Grenell and the head of the CIA, John Ratcliffe, have compromised that people are using in order to control the way that our government institutions operate. So I don't know, but again, I think there's no easy path forward. And if you're the head of the largest, most powerful country on earth, and you have a duty of care, of trust to the American people, if the system is corrupt, if there is no way that it's going to be held accountable, in my opinion, you have a moral imperative to uncover that for people, because anything else is lying to them. So I don't know. I'm not a black pillar, but I'm calling it where I see it. And it's like, there's no easy answers here. The Democrats are going to win. They're going to come brutally after everybody in the Trump administration. They're going to arrest a lot of people. That's 10 or 11 months away. and something really drastic has to happen between now or then to
Well, you would
prevent
think
it from happening.
existential crises tend to cause people to take actions that otherwise they wouldn't. We'll see what Trump does, but so far, internationally using power, nationally, domestically not. The funny thing to me is, and Mark, I know you got to go, so I'm not going to hold you over, but it's funny to me, you got the cable channels begging him, please take action. We want divisive action so that we can cover it and call you the orange Godzilla and all this kind of stuff. And you got the people apparently also behind this, conservatives and liberals, according to you, and the wokies. We want conflict, baby. And he's not doing that, and maybe to his own detriment. So, Mark, final thoughts as we get ready to say goodbye.
No, I think you nailed it. And unfortunately, I hope World War III isn't the way that the world decides to wipe the slate. But you had Trump calling for a 50% increase in the Department of Defense spending. And you don't plan that unless you are going to use it. And then you have the head of NATO calling for a two-front war between Russia and China. So I don't know. It's going to get wild. And we'll be polling on all of it. So people can come check it out at Rasmussen_poll. And at Honest Pollster on Twitter. And we have 2 YouTube channels. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook too now. I just started. So people maybe, if you're into those, you can come check it out.
We recommend you start a Leering Center as well, Mark. It's the way to really rise up in the millionaire status of America.
Yeah, exactly. 100% Leering Center. I just need to come up with some failed drug and get a Medicaid code for it. And then I'll be off to the races, right?
Weight loss with Tic Tacs, folks, coming to a Minnesota facade near you from Mark Mitchell. Mark, thank you for being here today, buddy. We appreciate what you say, even when it's not as cheerful as some would like.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. We'll see you real soon. All right, guys, let's talk about it as we get ready to, well, hang on a second. There we go. Lauren, as we're listening to Mark and what he has to say about entertainment and cable news and what's going on in Minnesota, you know, I am shocked right now that the media seems to be merging with these kinds of actions. It's not any longer them just reporting on it. It's not them instigating behind the scenes. You got Don Lemon in the church with them, you know, going up to the pastor and telling him, "Don't push me, buddy," as the pastor's. So, Lauren, what do you think about this idea that in entertainment now, which is what these cable news channels essentially are, they're political entertainment. What do you make about this idea that they're actually now involved in this and still the White House isn't responding to them?
I don't think there's really a veil being torn off here. I think that we probably could have guessed this from just watching the media ourselves over the last several years. As to why the administration isn't doing something about it, it's because, as Mark said, there's an asymmetry in how that would be responded to. Obviously, they would be the largest ones saying that you're squelching speech and you're trying to control those who are supposed to be holding you to account. So it's difficult to counter the media. That said, if things get to a certain point where you have, for instance, let's say state troops and federal troops that are opposed to each other, at that point you've got to start looking at the Federal Supremacy Clause. And I think you do at a certain point have to start looking at the Insurrection Act, but it all depends on what happens. I'm hoping cooler heads prevail and that Waltz and the Mayor Frey stop turning up the rhetoric here.
I don't see that happening at all. I think that, you know, you can judge what's being hidden by how fiercely they try to misdirect. And Ron, when they're going into churches like this, there's a huge misdirect happening. I think there's a lot of corruption. And I think the system, as Mark is talking about, the system is reaching that sort of metastasized level where you can't handle any more corruption. And I think we're all just delaying pulling the Band-Aid off. And I'm ready for the Band-Aid to come off and let's go through it. Let's heal.
Well, the problem with all of this is obviously, to anybody that ever has seen this type of thing, it's not organic. There are a lot of these people that are paid to go out and do this. People that were in that target crowd, I'm sure many of them were paid. A lot of times you see the same individuals showing up at these gatherings, protests all over the nation. And it's like, why are we seeing the same faces? How are you getting from place to place? How are you doing all this? And one of the things that, because I'm kind of close to this issue, I noticed is that all of this started in the wake of the very successful capture of Maduro out of Venezuela. Now, he was captured and the media thought that they were going to get a very negative narrative out of that, but you saw that the vast majority of the American people were actually for that action because, you know, like I have family and friends from Venezuela. All the Venezuelans were cheering it on, all of that. And That was a big win, I believe, for Trump, and that had to be squelched almost immediately. And all of a sudden, things started happening in Minnesota, and ICE was big in the news again, and all of this is going on now. It's it's very, very frustrating, because I think the vast majority of Americans, we kind of just want to live our lives and be left alone and be able to enjoy our entertainment and go to the movies or go to theme parks or travel or whatever. And you have stuff like this that the media is obviously trying to use to control a very specific narrative and very much maintain control. Like what Mark said about the younger people thinking that it would almost be better if AI took over, that is frightening, especially when you see who would be the controlling factor of AI. Well, it would be these people in the media that already have so much control. The whole thing is a little bit frightening, a little bit ridiculous, and I hope, and I have a little bit of faith, that the vast majority of Americans are above seeing this for what it is, and that it is an attempt to control. And most of us aren't really affected by that unless you're going to that church. I hate the idea of, like, I just want to go to church and see a sermon, and you're going to have these people walking.
I actually disagree with that, though, real quick, Ron. I actually disagree with that, because what it does, right, it's not just that church. Now it's every church in Minnesota knows this can happen to me, and the federal government's not going to come in and protect us. And this is what I've got this up on NBC News right now.
Should.
Harmeet Dillon, who is the head of the civil rights part of the DOJ, and by the way, was the lead of the firm that Ron Coleman was in prior to go independent. And so we have great respect for Harmeet Dillon. I would have loved to ask Mark, if we'd had the time, if he thinks the DOJ is filled to the brim with people who won't do what the leadership in the DOJ says to do. Maybe that's what's going on here. But, all these warnings, I'm sick of them. And the problem is if the media is going to combine together with the kinetic agitators, right, going into these churches and stuff, if the media is going to turn that into a soap opera in real life and create strife in America, I'm ready for the federal government to do something about that, because that's a misuse of the media. It's inappropriate, and it's crashing on other people's rights. Now, Ron, everybody in Minnesota who's going to church has to wonder, is it our church today? Right. And if it is, nobody's going to come in and save us.
No, I mean, is Bondi not doing her job? That's what I'm like. I look at that.
It's either that. Yeah. It's either that, or she has people underneath her. Like maybe the DOJ is filled top to bottom with folks who will not do what she orders them to do. I don't know, but
then
it's
get
been
somebody
a disaster.
They will listen to you've got to change something.
Yeah, well, they talked about moving the FBI out of DC to somewhere else in America to try to decorrupt it, and then nothing has happened. So it's a strange thing watching all this play out. Lauren, the final place I'll go with this is Mark was talking about earlier, that young people are looking for just anybody to save them economically. And they're not aligned politically with any kind of principle. It's just save us. Lauren, I wonder as we listen to that, is that because maybe we destroyed their heroes and they haven't had any mythos to look up to? Like they're flowing in the wind. There's nothing to tie them down to any kind of ethos that would carry them through life.
No, I don't think it's that, honestly. I think storytelling is important. I think that those heroes provide an example that you can look to try and align your own moral philosophy. But I think for the younger generations that we're talking about, they were literally sold out. It's not that they're looking for heroes. It's that their future, in many ways, was squandered by generations that came above them.
They can't buy a house.
They can't buy a house. They can't get the white picket fence. They can't get married. They have been assaulted on all sides, and they're being told that the issue is that they're lazy and not working hard enough.
Especially the young men, Lauren, because not only can they not get married, but if they do get, so fortunate as to be married, then they have to worry about how the system is set up against them in that scenario.
Yeah, what's lacking for the younger generation right now, honestly, is hope. You're looking at all of this stuff, and it's bleak. They're not going to have a better standard of living than we had, and that's on all of us and the folks that were above us who squandered the fortunes that they had to live in comfort. So,
okay, so then Elon Musk is telling them that Grok and AI and what he's going to do, that he's going to bring into reality. But he says it's going to be a supersonic tsunami of change, and he says it's going to be major social unrest. But he says on the other side of it, that universal high income is on the way, where, you know, it's an age of abundance. But he claims it's going to be a really rough ride to get there. I don't know, but maybe that's why they're saying, save us, Elon. Maybe when they talk about AI, they're actually looking to the rocket man, Elon Musk, and saying, buddy, what do you got? Because Washington is not doing it for us. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Maybe that's where it is. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just telling you. I think you guys are right. I think we've sold out the young people. I think I didn't do it. I don't want to do it, but I think Washington did. And they are not paying attention. They're not paying attention to the plight of average people. The woke era did harm. The pandemic took it even farther. And the need for authenticity and truth is higher than ever before. And put another one in the can, folks. A video of excellence has been birthed into existence, and you were there to witness it. Thank you for participating. We hope you had a good time. Folks, it's a great time anytime we get to share time with you, and we mean it. The only thing additional we ask, on the way out the door, consider clicking the like button. Share, subscribe, click it and stick it to those pesky algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. And oh, by the way, if you would be so kind, perhaps share this out on your favorite social media platforms. Folks, we've got all kinds of content coming your way. If you are interested in going even beyond all of that, well, there's a Pro Store, and you can always find those items directly below the video you're watching. The Pro Store, it's a cool place to check out for items that, well, definitely Disney and the rest are not going to sell you, but we're happy to do so. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.